Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us at our thought leadership table. If you have any questions today, please go ahead and ask Erica, or just raise your hand and I'll be happy to respond to you. But we have a really exciting group today, and what I'd really love for us to do is start off by having you give us your name, your company, and one unique fact about you that the audience might not know. Let's start with you, Mike.
How close this? I'm Mike Muson from Smart Action, and we are an artificial intelligence-based company, technology solution for call automation. And we combine that artificial intelligence engine that we created with advanced speech recognition to create an interactive conversation with your customers.
What's your interesting fact?
Oh, good call. Don't let him off the hook.
Interesting fact. In spite of my size, I dominate on the volleyball court.
So at the last panel, we had a despite my size, I have a great jump shot. So right. We'll have to hook you to so you can jump higher.
Yeah.
My name is Keith Mourer. I'm with Varolii. We specialize in automated cross-channel communication that's proactive in nature, voice, email, text, and help identify what channel preference customers prefer to communicate back. Oh, am I?
That's right. Don't you dare forget.
I guess my interesting fact is outside this job, I also own a wine bar, so I get to think about what people not only comes out of their mouth, but what they put in their mouth from an experience perspective.
I spend a lot of time in wine bars, and I've never heard that one before.
So we need to be friends.
What city are you in?
I live here.
Okay.
I'm Steve Johnson with Pipkns. We provide workforce management software. We're the oldest provider in the industry, and workforce performance management for the front office, back office solutions. So probably my unique fact, I have 4 dogs, all Doberman pinchers, and they keep me busy, and I accumulated them from a rescue I volunteer at, so can't say no.
And how about you, Rich?
I'm Rich Guth. I'm with Transera. We provide customer engagement analytics in the cloud, where a company can load up their CRM data, their IVR data, their ACD data, demographics of their customers, and we integrate that into a repository where you can then start to do some closed-loop analytics to understand the effectiveness of marketing campaigns, how calls result in a business outcome. And my interesting fact is I worked for Steve Jobs for a year.
Nice.
Oh, that's a worthy conversation after this. But I'd actually like to start with data. And the reason is I recently came back from a customer conference for NICE. And the big conversation that week was all around big data. And what really came out of that to me was people don't know what to do with all the data that they collect. And that's actually been a big issue in our contact centers for years. We can measure everything. We can collect lots and lots of data. But now, how do you turn it into actionable data? And so I'd like to hear from your perspective, what is actionable data? Not just big data, but what do I do with everything that I collect?
Well, I think I'll give you one example that one of our customers, Guthrie Ranker, is doing with the repository. They've actually, based upon the analytics we're collecting from the ACD and the IVR and the CRM, we're determining which agents are best able to resolve a particular customer issue in the best manner based upon the demographics of the customer and the problem that they're either calling about or the product they're looking to buy. So to make it actionable, we're doing this, we're doing predictive analytics where we're now able to derive the behavior of the IVR and the ACD for Guthrie Ranker so that everyone gets routed to a agent or to the self-service mode that is most appropriate for what they're trying to accomplish.
What does actionable data mean for you from an IVR perspective?
Well, I mean, it's not as much of our space, but I think that dynamic changes from customer to customer and what they want to do with the data that we're gathering. We're able to record interactions and pass those along and attach those to customer records so that they can have things that they can go back to and actually listen to conversations that they've had, our system has had with their customers. So that's a good data point that we provide.
And that's huge. It's very necessary from a speech analytics capacity.
Actionable data, we do analytics, but they're more structured around customer communication channel preference. So to us, we track cell phones, home phone numbers, and really identify how customers prefer to communicate, whether it's over the phone, SMS, chat, email, and actually how they interact back. So it's really understanding each customer per industry, per vertical, and then identifying how best it is to communicate back with those customers in the appropriate channel that they prefer.
Now, in your business, it's all about data. It's taking that data and trying to determine, where to put an agent, what time to put an agent.
Yeah, and I think in the workforce management space, know what you're measuring, why you're measuring it, what makes sense within the organization. That, one of the examples that always still comes up after 10 years is, well, what's your service level objective? And, well, it's 80% in 20 seconds. Well, why is it 80% in 20 seconds? Well, that's the industry standard, right? Well, is that what your organization wants it to be? So ultimately, at the end of the day, challenge yourself and even challenge those data points that you've always been doing it. Every once in a while, reinvent the wheel within your own standards.
So let's talk a little bit about emerging channels and social media, mobile, advanced self-service. These are all now channels we're trying to integrate and shove into our contact centers, in part because our customers are telling us that that's how they want to communicate with us. So talk to me a little bit about how customer expectations are changing with the emerging channels and how the contact center can now address those in the most efficient manner. Don't all jump at once.
Well, I mean, I'll talk in the workforce management space. It comes up a lot, ultimately, it's where it used to be just voice as a way to reach the customer. We look at it as it's another contact that we are wanting to manage, and if we're looking at it from a forecasting, scheduling standpoint, it's a lot like voice, but if you're looking at the chat and social media like Twitter, the way that's evolved within companies, they have literally siloed groups that they have to staff to be able to handle that, because the response times are just so much quicker. I mean, if you don't get back with somebody in social media within a matter of hours, sometimes minutes, that can escalate and go viral a lot quicker than what a phone call used to be or an email would be. So in workforce, we have to be able to staff to make sure that they're there to be able to handle that.
And so how is the IVR going to help? Like, there's so many new advancements happening from an IVR perspective.
Right.
Is that going to help us get to these customers a little quicker?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, our technology is really designed to replicate the interactive conversation that you have with a person, and using our artificial intelligence engine to create a natural language flow where customers can use the verbiage and the language that they're comfortable using to actually contain and complete transactions within our system. And what we've found is in today's modern world, what customers really care about most is getting how much effort is this call going to take? How much is going to be required of me? And can I get in and get out of this as quickly as possible with the lowest amount of energy and effort given? And that's where our technology really takes it to the next level in creating a conversation that feels like a human interaction, is extremely effective with high success rates in completing what the intention of that call was.
Yeah, I think everything we're seeing is really and I've heard it before, is all around the customer experience and engagement, and making sure that the IVR, and that's a great example, that type of experience is also the same with these, right? So, and making sure that if I fill out my information on your app, on your web app, when I call into the IVR, it's gonna know who I am and be able to process me in the same way or service me in the same way, and then identifying through Facebook or other social channels who you are and getting the same level of responsiveness and channel engagement.
So there's been a lot of discussion as well at this conference around at-home agents and what the emerging channels and what are we doing to assist at-home agents so that they too are having that consistent experience, so that they know how to respond to social and mobile in the same way. Do you find, I'll go back to you on the IVR, are there benefits that the IVR is giving to a remote workforce that is perhaps a little different?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of success with handling internal calls for example, people doing installations in the field, automating some of that process and completing work orders. Instead of having a line tied up and increasing hold times where live operators might be handling customer-facing calls as well as internal calls from their technicians, we can offload a piece of that puzzle and effectively manage those incoming calls, mark a record, a work order is completed, and then generate an outgoing survey call to those customers in an automated fashion to gauge customer satisfaction and the experience in real time. So that there's no lag and you're more likely to get a better response and a more relevant response from that customer. So automating multiple pieces of that in a remote environment is something we really do well.
How about from the analytics standpoint? What information are you now able to put out, to a remote workforce that perhaps you just weren't before?
I think what's important is for them to be the remote worker to have as much knowledge and information available to them as if they were in the office, and that's where big data can play. Predictive analytics can come into play with big data in that a call comes in, it gets parsed to an agent by a particular type of customer with a particular demographic about a particular issue, and in real time the agent can be informed that there are a lot of service calls on a particular product that day, or this kind of customer is responding well to a particular marketing campaign, and therefore try to upsell them to this as if they were working in a team in an office together. So I think it's the information.
And that's such a vital, component. I was in a panel earlier today, and we were talking about the culture, of a remote workforce and how challenging, it is to actually push that out and make them feel like they're, a part of that environment. And it sounds like with analytics, we can actually do a piece of that.
Absolutely.
And that's fascinating. Now, from a workforce standpoint,
right? Yeah, so it's certainly a phenomenon that's exploding, and with workforce management, the benefits around that is you can gear it towards really building the agents' morale, because with the at-home agents, their productivity increases, their morale is higher, their efficiency is higher, and a lot of that's because their quality of life is better. So where the 8-hour shift isn't always the 8-hour shift, right? They can go drop the kids off at school, come back, build their schedule from 9 to 3, take their lunch, and then for 2 hours, and then build another shift from 2 to 5, pick the kids back up, and then ultimately you allow agents to build their schedule around their life, as opposed to forcing the schedule on them and saying, this is what you're going to work. So that's how the workforce management is kind of evolving in that space.
Anything else from the customer interaction standpoint that you...
No, I feel for some of the agents, because the customers have more information at their fingertips than the agents do. Yeah. And they really do.
And they really do.
Yeah.
All right, so for my last question, and I'll give you a chance to be brief but self-serving here. As a contact center, and I have one place that I can invest my dollars in for 2014, what's the trend? What should I be looking out for?
Well, I mean, I think automation is where it's at. I mean, making sure in a contact center, if you're in charge of that budget, making sure you're getting the best return on investment of the investment you make in your live agents, and having them handle the more complex calls that require some thinking or some upselling or things that technology may not be as adept at handling, and allowing a technology to handle some of those lower complexity calls, still providing your customers that interactive conversation that they're looking for, and again, containing and completing those calls so that the energy level is low from their part and they get in and out of that transaction effectively.
And it certainly increases the morale of the agent.
Exactly.
Because their value is higher.
Exactly.
And we talk all the time, simplify it as much as you want, but happy agents do make happy customers.
Absolutely.
And I would actually say the same thing. Automation, and the way we do it is proactive cross-channel automation, and getting customers to engage in those less expensive channels. Yeah,
I mean, I think a key is leverage your existing technologies that you do have. Make sure you're really getting the most out of them. If you've had a technology in place for 5+ years, either make sure that you're using it to the fullest. If not, branch out and see what else is on the market to make sure you still have the right one and that it fits your initiatives.
I would say make use of the data you have. You've got years of data in your ACD, your IVR, your CRM that you're really not making use of. So before you go buy another system and try to improve a process, make sure you understand the processes you have really well and understand what's happened over a long period of time, because the answer you get when you look at a year's worth of data is very different than when you're looking at a quarter's worth of data.
Well, gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure hearing your insights on your customers and what you see happening in 2013 and moving forward into the next year. So thank you for being a part of our thought leadership table, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.